Get ready, Padres fans. It's time for the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show on the Padres Radio Network.
Tatis at third, 2 outs. Fernando takes off. He's going to steal home without a play.
Coming up, we'll have a recap of the previous Padres game, a preview of today's starting pitching matchup, and our keys to the game. Plus, we'll hear from manager Mike Shildt. From the Padres Radio Network, here's Sam Levitt.
San Diego Padres baseball coming up on 97.3 The Fan and the Padres Radio Network. Today the Padres take on the Colorado Rockies in the second game of a 3-game series. Our starting pitching matchup today for the Rockies, right-hander Tanner Gordon, and for the Padres making his Padres debut, left-hander Martin Perez. Hi, good everyone. Sam Levitt with you inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park. First pitch coming up at 5:40 as we get ready for the second game of this 3-game set. Coming up in the next 50 minutes, you'll hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. We'll also hear from new Padres reliever Alek Jacob and the guy making his Padres debut on the mound here today, left-hander Martin Perez. Plus, coming up in just a few minutes, we hear from Gwyn Jr. But first, let's set the table, brought to you by Fraser Farms Market. Set your table with the highest quality of natural and organic products from Fraser Farms Market, a San Diego original since 1971 with 3 locations, La Mesa, Vista, and Oceanside. Padres entered today 59-52. Despite losing last night, the Padres have still won 9 of their last 11. Padres entered today tied for the final National League wildcard spot. Meanwhile, the Rockies come in 41-70. Yes, they do have the worst record in the NL, but the Rockies have now won 3 in a row, 2 against the Angels and 1 against the Padres. The Padres are just 2-6 against the Rockies this year and 0-4 against them here at home. Unfortunately, last night was more of the same for the Padres against Colorado. Let's take a quick look back.
How did the Padres fare in their last game? Let's take a look back with our Padres Rewind. Presented by Hamul Casino. With thrilling slots and tables and all the best rewards, Hamul Casino has all the fun you're looking for. Hamul Casino. Fun above all else.
The scoring started in the top of the second. Randy Vasquez on the mound for the Padres. Brendan Rodgers led off.
1-2 the pitch. Rodgers swings, hits it in the air to deep left field. Profar is back. He'll turn to watch. It's going to go. A home run for Brendan Rodgers, his 8th of the year. And the Rockies lead it 1-0.
Fast forward to the bottom half of the inning. Austin Gomber on the mound for Colorado. He faced Manny Machado to lead things off in the bottom half of the second.
2-1 pitch is swung on, hit in the air to deep left field. Cave is back. He will watch. It's going to go. Line drive, home run, Manny Machado. And a tie game here in the second inning.
We were still tied at 1-1 in the bottom half of the fourth inning. That's when Donovan Solano dug in.
First pitch on the way. Solano swings, hits it in the air to deep left center. Cave is back. He will watch. It will go. A home run for Donovan Solano. What a guy he has been. Padres with their second of the night, and they take the lead 2-1.
It stayed 2-1 through 5. Randy Vasquez allowed just 1 early run in 5 nice innings. Jeremiah Estrada came on for the top of the 6th inning. He walked the first 2 batters of the frame. The Rockies would ultimately load the bases with nobody out for Chris Bryant.
Bases loaded, 1 away. First pitch, line drive off the end of the bat into center field. That'll drop down and a base hit. Doyle has scored to tie it. McMahon right behind him, a 2-run single for Chris Bryant. And Colorado hops back in front. It's 3-2.
And check that, a 1-out single for Bryant, but same thing, Rockies did take the 3-2 lead. Estrada gave up an RBI single to Jake Cave to make it 4-2. Rockies then got a run against Alek Jacob in the 7th inning to make it 5-2. Austin Gomber went 7 strong innings, gave up just the 2 early runs on the homers to Machado and Solano. Padres could not score against the Rockies bullpen. Final score here last night, Rockies 5 and the Padres 2. The Padres have now lost 5 in a row against Colorado. They have been outscored 34-18 in those 5 games. So we'll see if the Padres can get things turned around here tonight in downtown San Diego against the Rocks. First pitch coming up at 5:40. Let's go inside the Jerry Coleman Broadcast Center.
Let's go inside the Padres broadcast booth for a deep dive on today's matchup from Tony Gwyn Jr. in our Padres game preview on the Padres Radio Network.
Tony, let's begin with a look at the starting pitching matchup here today. On the mound for the Padres, left-hander Martin Perez, a veteran that has been around a long time, making his Padres debut. Tony, here today for Perez, what are your expectations for him as he makes his debut here at Petco Park?
I'd be lying to you if I told you I had expectations. I don't know what to expect from Martin Perez here in his outing. He's had some rough patches during the course of this season, but he starts here with a clean slate. Padres certainly need the innings from him, and he's a guy who in the past has been able to give some good innings, and so I think the Padres are hoping that they can bring him in and he can put together a few good starts here down the stretch.
Yeah, and you hit the nail on the head. Innings, really the key thing for Martin Perez. Just, I think, Tony, right, a professional, hopefully good outing for Martin Perez. Keep you in the game and hopefully set you up to pick up a win tonight against the Rockies. On the other side of this pitching matchup, a young right-hander on the mound for Colorado, Tanner Gordon, somebody the Padres have never seen before. Tony, what are the, I suppose, benefits and maybe also difficulties of facing a right-hander that struggled a little bit like Gordon has, but also somebody that you've never seen before? Well, what are kind of the 2 parts of the equation when it comes to a guy like this?
I mean, I think it's all a mentality, right? I mean, Everybody who has played this game has come up through the minor leagues in which you didn't have video on guys, and you just had to go out and kind of figure it out as you went. And I always thought that was the way to kind of approach these games at the big league level. Yes, you're going to get some film on these guys at the big league level. You're going to get a chance to see them. But I think sometimes we complicate things in our own heads as hitters at times. Going with the whole idea, I haven't seen him before. Most of these guys have played a lot of baseball not having seen the starting pitcher or a pitcher that they're facing growing up. So, you try to revert back to that. I think for the Padres, they play to their strengths, right? They're going to stay up the middle. They're going to hopefully be able to drag some at-bats out, take Gord down to the deep end, and drown him out at the end of the day. That's what they're trying to do and get some runs on the board.
Let's focus on a couple of guys in the Padres lineup today. Manny Machado had the home run yesterday, 4 home runs in his last 5 games. He's 10 for his last 22. In fact, he has multiple hits in 3 consecutive games. Tony, what are you seeing from Manny right now? What's led to some of this success?
It's funny. A lot of times, him going well looks a lot like when Toddy's going well. Not chasing the breaking ball, because I think teams generally attack them in a very similar fashion. Hard in, soft away. And when Manny's not chasing, he's dangerous. And he's in that mode right now, I think. The way he's swinging the bat, the way the ball is coming off, and I think the efficiency of his swing through the zone is as good as it's been this season. And so I fully expect Manny to continue this pace. Listen, as I said before, when he goes, this Padre team goes, and I think that's a big reason why they've been playing so well here as of late.
Tony, let's talk about one of the other guys in the lineup today. That's Luis Campusano doing the catching and batting ninth. And for Luis, obviously, before the injury, before he went on the IL, he had struggled at the plate, came off the IL, took a couple of offers. But really, you go back to that late home run he hit against Atlanta before the All-Star break. And Luis has put together some really nice games. He had a home run in his last start against the Dodgers. What are you seeing from Luis Campusano lately when he's been in there?
Well, he's made an adjustment with his hands. His hands aren't in front of his face anymore. He's kind of got him a little bit further back closer to the launch position. And I think it's confidence. With Campy, when he's confident and he feels good in the box, I think you see the results that we've seen here as of late. And, I just think it's at the perfect time, right? I think Kyle was able to kind of carry the load when he struggled a little bit. And Kyle's still swinging the bat pretty good, but I think you're going to start seeing a little bit more of Campusano, possibly see these guys splitting time a little bit more than they have been in recent weeks. But it's a good thing to have both catchers kind of, when one kind of cools off, the other one's starting to heat up.
Yeah.
That's a good recipe down the stretch.
Yeah, it really can be. We'll see what Luis does here tonight. Tony, before I let you go, I just want to ask you about Alek Jacob, who we probably won't see tonight because he pitched 2+ innings yesterday, but I did talk to him earlier. We'll hear that conversation a little bit later. I know he gave up the run yesterday, Tony, but Alek's been pretty impressive both last year and this year when he's been in the major leagues. I know he has that unusual arm slot, maybe a little bit of a different way he goes about it. Your thoughts on Alek Jacob, because he's somebody that could certainly play a role in this bullpen down the stretch, despite the Padres all of a sudden having all these high leverage arms.
Yeah, he's been pretty impressive. And when you think about where the Padres are in this point in the season and some of the injuries that they've had to deal with, those innings may be beneficial. So Alek, who has thrown the ball well, will have opportunities. I don't think there's any doubt about it. I think for a guy like him, you got to be careful of how many times guys get a chance to see him. And for him, it really has to be all about command and location.
Right.
Even with the unique angle in which that ball's coming out, after guys start to get to see it, if it's not located well, they're going to take some good hacks at it. But that's the thing that I think improved a little bit from when we saw him last year. He's throwing the ball in places where it's tough to get to, even at that velocity. And, I think the deception is also playing a part. And like you said, the Padres are going to need innings, and he could be a guy who gives them some.
All right, Tony, good stuff. We'll talk to you and Jesse coming up at 5:30 as the Padres try to bounce back against the Rockies. Thanks so much.
Sounds good. Thank you, Sam.
All right, that is Tony Gwyn Jr. joining us on our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show here on the Padres Radio Network as we get ready for first pitch coming up at 5:40. Again, we go out to Jesse and Tony at 5:30. Padres trying to bounce back against the Rockies. Oh, those Rockies. They have given the Padres a whole lot of trouble this year. Padres just 2-6 against Colorado so far this season. 0-4 against them here at home. That's got to come to an end here tonight, right? Padres, we'll see if they can get a win tonight with left-hander Martin Perez, the veteran, making his Padres debut. When we come back, we hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. Like we said earlier, we'll also hear from Alek Jacob, and we'll hear from today's starting pitcher, Martin Perez. Much, much more to get to as we walk you up towards first pitch at 5:40 on the Padres Radio Network. Welcome back to the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show on the Padres Radio Network. Your water perfected. EcoWater SoCal. Your water should be perfect. Find them online at EcoWaterSoCal.com. Sam Levitt with you inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park as we get ready for first pitch coming up at 5:40. Game 2 of this 3-game set between the Padres and the Colorado Rockies. We'll hear from Padres reliever Alek Jacob coming up a little bit later. We'll also hear from today's starting pitcher Martin Perez. But first, let's hear from the Padre manager.
Let's pull up a seat in the manager's office and hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. Presented by Sinley Food. Spice up your culinary life.
The big headline in this game, Martin Perez making his Padres debut. The veteran left-hander in the midst of his 13th Major League season began the year with the Pirates before the Padres traded for him just a handful of days ago at the trade deadline. It's been an up-and-down year for Perez, a 5.20 ERA in 16 starts, 83 innings, 105 hits. He struck out 63, walked 32. We'll have much more on Perez coming up a little bit later. Here was Mike Shildt earlier today. His thoughts on Martin Perez making his San Diego Padres debut.
Yeah, you know what? I'm excited to see Martin pitch. Been in the league a while. I don't have a lot of experience against him, but I know a lot of people that I trust speak very highly of him. He's made a very favorable impression in the clubhouse already, and I'm looking forward to seeing him pitch today.
It sounds like he had a little bit of a rough start to the season, but he himself feels better getting back from the groin injury. He said he made a couple of mechanical changes himself, so maybe throwing some of his best baseball of the year in time for you.
I think we're in a good spot with Martin, it sounds like. I mean, let's just guys 2 years away removed from an all-star game. And as you mentioned, was compromised physically with some things earlier in the season. Is feeling good, healthy, is working on a few things, and we're excited to see him watching pitch today.
As far as Tanner Scott goes, we haven't had a chance to see him yet, but how anxious are you to get him in a game? And is there a need to get him in here fairly soon just to get his feet wet and get comfortable here in a new uniform?
You know, I'm looking forward to seeing him pitch, that's for sure. It means we're likely going to have the lead. He's not pitched in a while. By the way, congratulations to him for National League Reliever of the Month. And then congratulations to Dylan for well-deserved at both of them for Pitcher of the Month, Starter of the Month. So, you know, Tanner's an experienced guy, so I don't feel like I've got to just get him in a game to get him in a game. I think we'll get him in a game when it makes sense. But I would expect him to pitch tonight with the lead.
I'm sure you're anxious to get your offense going against Tanner Gordon tonight. You guys haven't seen him. Where's that balance between the scouting reports that you guys have, maybe video that you have as well, versus guys actually having plate appearances and the discussions that go on in the clubhouse after they've seen him, or the dugout, I should say?
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the bigger things is having that communication as the game goes. I mean, you know, yeah, we're going to have an idea. You've got the clarity of like the metrics and what his ball does, and there's some video that's taking place, but you know, it's really about, okay, what are we seeing in real time? We're going to have an idea about his stuff, where it's going to show up, how we're going to approach it, and then it's the communication as the game goes to peel back what we're seeing.
That was Padres manager Mike Shildt before today's game. Mike also did provide an update on Joe Musgrove as far as to where Joe will be pitching tomorrow on a minor league rehab assignment, some information on Michael King as well. So we'll get to that a little bit later in our next segment. And, of course, we'll hear from Mike on our post-game show coming up later on tonight. First pitch coming up at 5:40 here at Petco Park. Let's tell you who's hot, who's not.
Which player is locked in at the dish? Who needs to kick things up another notch? This is Who's Hot, Who's Not on the Padres Radio Network.
Now, the Padres had some really hot hitters before last night's game, and then they didn't score aside from the 2 solo home runs. But we're going to keep most of these guys in the hot category for today. One guy we don't have to really keep quote-unquote in the hot category, Manny Machado. He had a big swing last night, his 4th home run in the last 5 games. Machado is 10 for his last 22. He has 3 straight multi-hit games. Manny passed Dave Winfield last night and moved into 4th all-time on the franchise home run list with his 155th career home run as a Padre. He'll tie Phil Nevin for 3rd on the list with his next home run. Xander Bogaerts had a 10-game hitting streak snap last night, still batting .450 .253 in 13 games since coming off the IL. Jackson Merrill, despite going 0 for 4 last night, he's still batting .349 in his last 11 games. Luis Arraez in the midst of an 11-game hitting streak, but that was snapped last night, batting .320 in his last 50 at-bats, even with the 0 for last night. Jurickson Profar also went 0 for 3 last night, still batting .361 with 4 home runs, 11 RBIs in his last 36 at-bats. For the Rockies, a couple of guys to keep an eye on in the hot category. Ezequiel Tovar hits in 18 of his last 19 games, batting .386 with 7 doubles, 6 home runs, 15 RBIs in that span. Brendan Rodgers had a few hits last night, 7 for his last 16 now, with 4 extra base hits in that span. In the not category, we take a look at one Padre and a couple of Rockies. Jake Cronenworth is just 5 for his last 39. If you go back to the end of June, a span of 87 at-bats, Cronenworth is only batting .195 with 5 extra base hits in that span. For the Rockies, a couple of guys in the not category. Elias Diaz batting just .120 in his last 50 at-bats. And finally, Ryan McMahon just 4 for his last 34. And that's a look at who's hot, who's not, as we get ready for Game 2 of this 3-game series. When we come back on our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show, we hear from Alek Jacob, the young new Padres reliever, not totally new, somebody who made his major league debut last season, now back up with the Padres. He's been pretty good so far out of the Padres bullpen. We'll also hear from today's starting pitcher, Martin Perez, plus we tell you where Joe Musgrove will be pitching tomorrow. A full look at the out-of-town scoreboard and our keys to the game coming up as well. Game 2 of this 3-game series coming up at 5:40 here in downtown San Diego. You're listening to the Padres Radio Network. Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park as we get ready for first pitch coming up at 5:40. Game 2 of this 3-game series. Padres trying to bounce back after dropping the series opener last night. A lot to do on our pregame coverage. We'll hear from Padres reliever Alek Jacob in just a little bit, so stay tuned for that. We'll also hear from today's starting pitcher, Martin Perez. Full look at the out-of-town scoreboard coming up in a moment as well. But we do have a number of injury updates to get to. Let's get to it.
Who's in? Who's out? This is the Bada Fulkerson Injury Report, presented by San Diego's Bulldog Injury Attorneys, who hope you're never in an accident. But if you are, make Bada Fulkerson the first call you make. Hit them up 24/7 at badafulkerson.com.
Let's get to the injury most impacting tonight's game first. Charlie Blackmon left last night's game after an errant throw from Xander Bogaerts hit Blackmon in the left wrist and then in the face. The ball got Blackmon in the eye. Blackmon said it was better after the game, but if you look at the Colorado lineup today, he is not in there. So Blackmon is not in the lineup for the Rockies today. We'll see if he's available at some point off the bench. But again, he left yesterday's game after the throw hit him. I think it hit his wrist and then ricocheted and got him in the eye. So he was okay after the game, but again, not in the lineup for the Rockies here today. Couple of other notes for you. Let's start with Michael King. Padres expect him to start in Pittsburgh. Mike Shildt saying that earlier today. They have not said when, but the good news is that it does sound like Michael King is going to pitch in the next series in Pittsburgh. He's not pitching tomorrow, as we heard from him yesterday about that left calf. It swelled up a little bit after he was hit by a line drive on the first batter he faced in Baltimore. Ended up being really good in Baltimore. Pitched into the 7th inning. But again, skipping Michael King tomorrow. Matt Waldron will start tomorrow for the Padres. And it does sound like Michael King will start in Pittsburgh. So ultimately, that is good news for King and the Padres. And finally, Joe Musgrove will pitch for the AA San Antonio Missions tomorrow against the Frisco Rough Riders, aiming for 45 to 50 pitches. The Padres will evaluate the next steps after that. So good news on Joe. He will be on a minor league rehab assignment tomorrow in the Texas League at AA with San Antonio. So good stuff there. We'll see what the next steps are for Joe, or what comes after that, assuming everything goes well with his 45 to 50 pitch outing with San Antonio. And that's an update on Joe, that's an update on Michael King, and an update on the Rockies' Charlie Blackmon as well. Let's take a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard.
Let's take a trip around the Bigs and tell you about the scores you need to know in our out-of-town scoreboard. Presented by Jensen Meat, where great taste meets integrity.
We have a number of finals already today. Nationals beat the Brewers 6-4 in D.C. Luis Garcia Jr. a home run in that game. Cardinals beat the Cubs at Wrigley Field 5-4. Yankees beat the Blue Jays 8-3. In New York, Aaron Judge hit his 41st home run of the season in that one. Games going on right now. Royals 3, Tigers 1 in the 7th inning in Detroit. Diamondbacks trailing the Pirates. 4th inning in Pittsburgh. Red Sox 3, Rangers 0 in Arlington in the 4th inning. Twins ahead of the White Sox 1-0 in the 3rd in Minnesota. That one notable because the White Sox are trying to avoid what would be a 19th consecutive loss. That's right. 19 in a row. That is what the White Sox are trying to avoid here today. Again, down 1-0 to the Twins early. Guardians beating the Orioles 2-0 in Cleveland in the 4th inning. Reds ahead of the Giants 2-0 in Cincinnati in the 4th inning. Astros 1, Rays 0 in Houston in the 4th inning. Marlins and the Braves tied at 1 in Atlanta in the 3rd. Games yet to begin. Phillies at the Mariners in Seattle at 6:40. Dodgers in Oakland against the A's just after the top of the hour. And also, it'll be the Mets and the Angels in Anaheim at 6:40 as well. And that is a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard on this Saturday across the major leagues. Well, in yesterday's game, despite the Padres losing to the Rockies, one bright spot, no doubt, was the work of Alek Jacob, who went 2 innings and a third, gave up 1 run, did keep the Padres right in the game, right in striking distance of the Rockies last night. Jacob really has done a nice job for the Padres so far this year. That was the first time yesterday he's ever given up a run in the major leagues in 6 total outings. 3 outings so far this year, 5+ innings, 1.69 ERA. He made 3 outings against the or I should say for the Padres last season before Alek Jacob went down with an injury last year after he went down with an elbow injury, a right elbow inflammation last year. So that ended his season last year, unfortunately, after he was pretty solid after making his major league debut with the Padres. Certainly a promising right-hander in the Padres organization. I caught up with Alek Jacob earlier today inside the Padres clubhouse. Sam Levitt here on the Padres Radio Network as we get ready for today's game against the Colorado Rockies. And right now I'm joined by Padres reliever Alek Jacob. And Alek, this time around in the major leagues, results continue to be really good. A nice 2+ innings in yesterday's game. How have you felt so far since rejoining the big league club?
I felt great, honestly. Yeah. Just trying to stay healthy obviously is the main thing, for me as after last year. But no, I feel good. My stuff I feel like has been good, and I'm just, going out there trying to help the team in any way I can.
You mentioned the injury last year after you came up to the major leagues. What was the process of recovering through that injury through the offseason and getting ready for 2024?
Yeah, obviously the rehab was, through about October, November, a couple months there, and then it was after that I was trying to figure out what's a routine and a plan that I can put into place here that'll help me so this doesn't happen again. And I feel like that was a big thing for me, and I think that's helped me a lot this year. Just having that routine that's going to put me in the right place and keeping me healthy.
Really nice numbers in the minor leagues. Like I said, your opportunities at the major leagues have gone well
against anybody, and so just staying on the attack rather than trying to be shy up there, and I feel like that's really helped me the biggest.
And you are a reliever that throws a number of different pitches. Out of the 4 you generally throw, I mean, what's worked the best so far this season?
This season's been the changeup. Yeah, last year I was more slider heavy. This year I've been a little bit more changeup heavy. It's definitely helped me getting ground balls, getting those punch outs. That's been my go-to.
Was that something you planned during the off season that you would use the changeup more, or did it just kind of happen that way?
It's just kind of one of those things as you go on throughout the year, you kind of figure out this is playing better right now, and so let's use it more while it's working, and then obviously if the slider starts playing better, we can adjust and to whatever we need. So it's just a matter of playing with what's hot.
We're joined by Padres reliever Alek Jacob as we get ready for today's game on the Padres Radio Network. This is a bullpen that got some big-time additions at the trade deadline. Jason Adam, Brian Hoeing, Tanner Scott. Obviously, you got guys like Robert Suarez, Morajón, Estrada. It's a big-time bullpen. From that perspective, what is it like for you as a young pitcher to be a part of this group right now?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like you said, a lot of really good arms, a lot of talent. It's really fun being a part of it and just enjoying every day. And I think the biggest thing for me is trying to like I did yesterday, takes a little bit of a leave off of those guys, and so they can get their 1 inning outings and can take care of business when they need to in those leverage situations. So I just any way I can help, that's obviously what I'm here to do, and I'm just, like I said, taking day by day, enjoying every moment.
And obviously you're pitching in big-time games. I mean, this is a team in the final 2 months now in the midst of a playoff race. From that perspective, what is it like to be a part of a team that is trying to make the postseason and do something special?
It's amazing. It's a great atmosphere to be in. Obviously, we're making every push we can to do what we can this year, and I think this is a great team, and I think we can do it. So it's fun to just like you said, we want to take it day by day, just win every game, see what we can do, and who knows where we can end up at the end of the year.
We mentioned you coming up last year, having success, then having the injury. When you think back to last year, getting a taste of the major leagues, and then unfortunately the injury happens, what kind of mindset did that give you moving forward, getting that first taste of the majors?
Yeah, it was obviously great getting a little bit of taste, and then obviously having a little bit of success definitely helped my confidence coming in this year. It was I've been up there, and while it was, like you said, small sample, it was a good sample, and so I felt like that helped me to know, when I came up this time, it's hey, I've been here, nothing's different, it's just baseball, just going out there and competing with my friends.
Alec, appreciate the time. Great work so far out of the Padres bullpen, and we'll talk to you again down the road. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
That was Alek Jacob, Padres reliever, earlier today inside the Padres clubhouse. Nice outing for Alec yesterday. 2 innings and a third, 1 run given up. Really did exactly what you could have asked from him in that situation, and that was keep the Padres in the ball game. Padres losing yesterday 5-2. We'll see if they can bounce back here today in the second game of this 3-game set. Let's give you our keys to the game.
How will the Padres unlock a victory in today's game? These are the keys to the game. Presented by Honor Buick GMC Hummer in National City.
Key number 1, get to Rockies pitching at Petco Park. In 4 games at Petco Park this season, Rockies pitching has a 2.25 ERA. The reason I bring it up, in their other 107 games away from Petco Park this year, Rockies pitching has a 5.61 ERA. So again, a 2.25 ERA here, they're great. Then away from here, it's a 5.61 ERA. No way around it. The Rockies have been a totally different team in this building. But the Padres offense has been very different against the Rockies here than they've been against everybody else. The Padres have averaged just a little bit more than 2 runs per game in the 4 games against the Rockies at Petco Park this season. The Padres are averaging 4.7 runs per game aside from those 4 this season in their other 107 games of the year. The Padres lead the majors in batting average. They lead the majors in innings with 4 or more runs scored. I bring up all these numbers to say this: the Padres have to find ways to be themselves against this Rockies pitching staff here at home. Do what you've done for the most part against everybody else this season. Got to find a way here today against Rockies pitching. That's key number 1. Key number 2, control the Rockies with runners in scoring position. The Rockies are batting .325 with runners in scoring position in this season series so far. Through 8 games, they had 3 hits with runners in scoring position last night, and the Rockies are not hitting anywhere close to above 300 with runners in scoring position this season overall. So when they get guys on base, when guys are in scoring position, Padres have to do a better job limiting the Rockies with runners in scoring position. And key number 3, Martin Perez limiting the walks. Perez threw 6 scoreless innings in his final start with the Pirates before being traded to San Diego, but he did walk 5 batters in that final start with Pittsburgh. Perez has issued 10 walks in his last 3 starts combined. So a key today for Martin Perez, limiting the walks. And that's a look at our keys to the game. When we come back, we'll hear from today's starting pitcher, Martin Perez. We also tell you about one Rocky to watch for in their lineup here today. And we take an even deeper dive into our pitching matchup between Perez and right-hander Tanner Gordon on the mound for Colorado. First pitch coming up at 5:40 here at Petco Park on the Padres Radio Network. Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park as we get ready for the Padres and the Colorado Rockies. Game 2 of this 3-game series as the Padres try to bounce back after yesterday's loss here at Petco Park. We'll hear from today's starting pitcher, Martin Perez, in just a moment, so stay tuned for that. First, let's tell you what to watch for in tonight's game.
What's the one thing Sam Levitt will be keeping his eye on in today's game? This is What to Watch For. Presented by Genesis Home Improvements, San Diego's trusted painting, roofing, and window company. Save 15% today on a new beginning for your home. Visit GenesisHomeImprovementsSD.com.
What to watch for in today's game. Kris Bryant in the Rockies lineup, DHing and batting 6th. He's batting .280 in 7 games since returning from the IL. Due to a rib contusion, Bryant has an RBI in each of his last three games. Had a big 2 RBI single in last night's game to give the Rockies the lead. That was arguably the biggest hit of last night's game. You might forget about Bryant because he's been hurt so much with the Rockies, but the guy is a former MVP. We'll see if Bryant continues to have an impact and swing the bat well tonight and throughout the rest of this series. So that's what I'm watching for here today. Number one, does Kris Bryant do anything impactful here tonight like he did last night? And number two, can the Padres limit Kris Bryant? He had a big hit in yesterday's game, and Bryant's a very good player, very talented player. Signed for a lot of money with the Rockies a couple of years ago. He's been hurt a lot, but don't sleep on Kris Bryant in this Rockies lineup. That's what to watch for in today's game. Another thing to watch for in today's game, the Padres' debut of Martin Perez, the veteran left-hander taking the mound in the brown and gold here at Petco Park tonight against the Rockies. Here was Martin Perez inside the Padres clubhouse yesterday on what we should expect to see from the veteran lefty.
And I think I'm ready to go out there and do my job. I mean, I just came here to help the team, and that's what I'm going to do. You're going to see a guy who go every 5 days out there and, do a good performance for the team and trying to help them to win games.
And have you talked to Ruben yet? And if so, what was that conversation like? He's got a pretty good reputation.
They just want me to do my thing. I mean, like you guys say, I've been around for many years in the league, and I think just trying to work with the experience that I have and the good rapport that we have here with the analytic staff, and I think it's going to help me. But, like I say, you guys going to see a different Martin that is going to be out there competing no matter what is going to be the results. I'm just going to go out there and do my job, man.
So that was Martin Perez talking inside the Padres clubhouse yesterday. You heard from Martin. Let's tell you a little bit more about Martin Perez.
Let's take a look at who's on the bump today with our starting pitching preview. Presented by Chimney Sweeps, Inc., San Diego's trusted chimney and fireplace service company for 40 years. Call Chimney Sweeps, Inc. at 1-800-CHIMNEY or book an inspection online at chimneysweepsinc.com.
Left-hander Martin Perez, the 33-year-old on the mound for the Padres here tonight. 2024 with the Pirates, 2-5, a 5.20 ERA, 16 starts, 83 innings. He struck out 63 and walked 32. His last start with the Pirates against the Cardinals was really good. 6 scoreless innings, gave up just 4 hits. His 4 starts before that, though, not very good. 8.24 ERA in 19-plus innings. He faced the Rockies earlier this year in Pittsburgh, went 5 innings and a third, 3 earned runs given up on 8 hits. He gave up a home run to Ryan McMahon in that game. McMahon is 5 for 8 lifetime against Perez, so that is a major matchup to watch in this one. McMahon against Perez. The arsenal for Martin Perez, the sinker, the cutter, the changeup. He'll throw those 3 primarily. Also mix in the curveball and the 4-seam fastball. On the mound for the Rockies, right-hander Tanner Gordon, 26-year-old rookie, 6th-round pick by the Braves in 2019. He was traded from Atlanta to the Rockies in exchange for reliever and former Padre Pierce Johnson before last year's trade deadline. So far in his major league career, 3 starts after getting called up in early July. An 8.80 ERA in 15-plus innings. He's allowed 25 hits and 6 home runs. Opposing hitters have an 1141 OPS against him so far. The one thing he has done is give the Rockies some length in 2 of his starts. He went 6 innings and allowed 4 runs against the Giants. In his last start, he pitched into the 7th inning against the Royals in his Major League debut. The arsenal for Gordon: 4-seam fastball 40%, slider 31%, changeup 21%, and he'll mix in the sinker as well. And that's a look at our starting pitching matchup. Veteran left-hander Martin Perez on the mound for the Padres, and rookie right-hander Tanner Gordon on the mound for Colorado. You've been listening to the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show on the Padres Radio Network. EcoWater SoCal, your water should be perfect. Find them online at EcoWaterSoCal.com. Padres trying to flip the script against the Rockies here tonight. Padres are just 2-6 against Colorado so far this year, and almost inexplicably, they have not beat the Rockies here at home. The Padres 0-4 against Colorado in this building, but the Padres, despite losing last night, have won 9 out of their last 11 games. They're 59-52 on the year. They entered today tied for the final National League wildcard spot. We'll see if the Padres can get it going against the Rockies with the veteran left-hander Martin Perez making his San Diego debut. When we come back, Jesse Ackler, Tony Gwyn Jr. have the starting lineups, first pitch, and all the play-by-play. I'll talk to you on our post-game show. You're listening to your home for San Diego Padres baseball, 97.3 The Fan, and the Padres Radio Network. Enjoy the game, everybody.